Good evening, and thank you all for coming. Tonight's show will be entirely in English, a bit of Dutch, but entirely in English. Thank you all for coming. My name is Mohammed Beiti. I'm the Business Development Director for GLC Paints, and I'm an adjunct professor of color at AUC. I'm very thrilled, very happy, very tensed to be here tonight. Having the first episode of the Color Talks. I'm going to start with a very short 1-minute movie by GLC, and then we'll get the show starting. These are shots from the color trend campaigns that GLC has done with several of Egypt's leading architects, so I wanted it to be part of our color talks. I'm going to read a little bit, Malishi. Color is the start of everything that is life. It's the first language that kids learn. It influences our everyday decisions, choices, emotions. Picking the right color can make or break a deal. There's no one better to talk about color than my very, very, very close and dear friend, Judith. Judith is Dutch. She was born in the Netherlands. Her initial dive into color came in her first job as product planning specialist at Kawasaki Motors, where she was the only European and the only woman on Kawasaki's Japan-based design team. Later, she served as senior color designer at Avient Colorworks, which designs innovative and increasingly sustainable polymer-based colorants to the manufacturing sector, and was creative director of Color Forward, a global color forecasting guide. These positions allowed her to travel the world to present social and consumer color intelligence to cross-industry professionals, designers, and marketeers. Today, she is the captain of her own ship. She is the founder of a beautiful agency, shall I say, or color intelligence agency called the Color Authority. She's the VP of membership in Color Marketing Group, where she's been very active for over 15 years in positions including president and member of the executive committee. So without further ado, I think Judith for the next 10 to 15 minutes will take us on a beautiful color. So please, all of you, welcome Judith Van Vliet.
Thank you, Mohammed, for that wonderful introduction. I think I have to stand like this, because obviously, being born in the Netherlands, I'm way too tall. So let me just... I'm going to try that. There's a few Dutch people, I think, in the audience, or at least people who have lived in the Netherlands. I have come to understand. I just want to thank the American University of Cairo for obviously having me here, and GLC Paints for inviting me. It's my first time in Egypt. It's my first time in Cairo, and I'm super excited. I was asked to present to you who I am, of course, but what I do. What are my experiences? To me personally, I'm just a very normal girl that fell in love with color when she was young. And then I actually had the biggest luck in the world that I could actually make a job out of my passion, out of my hobby, and actually pay my rent with it. So I think that means I'm one of the luckiest persons in the world. No matter what you do in life, if you actually can make money out of your hobby, your passion, you're doing very well. Actually, now I'm automatically complimenting myself. That was a very Dutch way and a very Dutch thing to do. I imagine you're all here because you love color. Who loves color? That's okay. Who works in color? Okay. And who wants to learn everything about color so that they can, okay, earn their money with color? That's a good thing. Well, color is a continuous journey, as you can see here on my slide, because I've been in color since 2007, and I'm still learning. Like every time that I meet a color expert, such as, for example, also Mohammed himself, I learn something. So it's never ending. And I think that is also something, when you learn something, you can never stop learning. You can never stop studying. You never come to that end. At least that's also what my grandma would always say. So what I help my clients with is to speak to their clients, so their customers, through the language of color. Because color is a language, and everybody can learn how to speak in color. It's a very powerful language. I think you all know that 85%, I personally think it's more, but 85% at least of all our decisions of everything that we buy and do in life are influenced by color. Only 5% of the time we know it's because of the color. So 95% of our decisions are actually unconsciously made. So picking up the wrong color for a product or a service is a very big issue, as you can understand, for anybody that here also has, for example, their own product line, their own design, or their own company. I think you already know a little bit about me, but yes, I have my own color intelligence, apparently, but my own color consultancy. Actually, I dropped out of my company in the midst of COVID. I started a podcast on color because I thought people needed to know more about color. That was frowned upon within the industry I was working in, and then I decided, okay, then I quit. I do not suggest to anybody to do that in the middle of COVID, of course, when you're sitting at home. But for me, that was the best decision I ever made in my life. So careful with those decisions, but when you feel it here, like when you feel, this is here is also where you feel color. Color is here. It's not here, it's here. It's in your heart, it's in your gut. So when you feel something over there, you know you have to go for it. And that's what I did. So this is my podcast. It's all about color. Not only, it is also about anybody who is even close to the color industry, anybody who works in design, who is working with sustainable pigments, who is working with color psychology. Those are people that I will interview because I think they have something to teach. And as soon as you have something to say about color, I want you to bring it out to the world and for everybody to listen to. Because as soon as you have a computer, a cell phone, and Wi-Fi, you can listen, obviously, to everything, of all the information that's out there. And one of the persons that I interviewed is Leatrice Eisman. I think you all know the Pantone color of the year. I think even my mother knows what the Pantone color of the year is. And I interviewed her, and I just want to show you just a very small segment of how she picks the color of the year. Because nobody just picks a color because they like it. And nobody ever selects a color or discards a color because they don't like it. Those are the first two rules when you work in color. I have no...
What we do is try to arrive at, again, the symbolic meaning behind the colors is very, very important. Again, it's not just a question of, oh, we haven't done this color before, isn't this a hot color, you know, isn't this a great color? It's got to be more thoughtful than that. And I think that's what people have really responded to, is the reasoning behind it.
So the reasoning behind color. Okay, so you need to have a storytelling. So you need to have a reason why you pick a certain color for your service and for your product. How? That's the big question, right? And that's, I know what you're also learning this in your classes here with Mohammed, but that is also why color is so important. Color is everywhere. I was just, some of you saw, I did a very quick interview, and then they asked me, what is the color of Cairo? And then I said, well, there's not a lot of color in Cairo, but if you look at the food, if you look at the vegetables, if you look at the fruits, if you look at the people, how they're dressed, but also if you are on the highway to the pyramids, you can see that actually the deconstructed buildings, they all show cuts out of those buildings, and they show the inside of people's homes. And the inside of your homes, there's a lot more color than in other parts of the world, trust me. And so you know color. So I'm not sure if I can actually teach you anything, but I'm gonna try. So color is important, as I said. 85% of our decisions are influenced by color, so we cannot neglect color. That's absolutely not an option for anybody. Kandinsky, of course, was one of the first, besides Isaac Newton, of course, in 1883 or 86, who was studying light. But Kandinsky was the first, or one of the first to read, or actually to write a book about it. It's called The Color of Theory, and that was in 1911. And he already would say that color would make the human soul and the human psyche vibrate. He said that it has such an influence. For example, red excites us. Blue is calming, but can also cause a paralysis. So this is interesting. Not everybody knew, but Kandinsky was a synesthete, meaning that when Kandinsky saw color, or when he listened to music, he saw color. So he had actually multiple senses that were connected. So you have a lot of people, not a lot of people, there's people that, for example, when they eat food, they see color. When they listen to music or when they see words, they see color. So that's actually a condition. I don't have that condition, but I interviewed somebody who has one, and it's very interesting. It's confusing for some people, but it makes you understand that color is part of our everyday life, but that that's also its taste, its flavor, its passion, and its love, of course. When we talk about very quickly about colors, and I already had a discussion about white with a young gentleman here in the audience. This obviously is Zaha Hadid's famous design for the Moscow subway station. When you use white, just to have a very quick introduction into what I do, but also what color psychology is, white is pure, but white is also sterile. White normally is used when you want to show people lines, when you want people to focus on the shape or on the texture. But also if you want a space, obviously, to be clean. Within a white space, however, feelings and emotions are rather neutral. So if that's what you're looking for, I guess white is a way to go. Apple uses white mainly to show that they are innovative, and they want the focus to be on the technology and the innovation, less so because color can also be distracting. So if you do not have color, so the absence of color creates a focus on shape, form, and design. So Zaha Hadid understood that very well, and I think she's famous for that design as well. But when you look at James Turrell, one of my favorite color designers, or actually artists. Obviously, he's American. If you've had the luck, you've seen some of his work. Definitely orange is a color, because it's a mix, obviously, of red and yellow. It actually makes you a little bit hungry. But it also is the perfect color for communication. It's the perfect color to be together in a space. It's actually the perfect color for us today, being together, socializing, because this is a very energizing, but it's a very social color as well. So let's quickly go to yellow. Yellow is one of those colors that is all about energy, because it's about the sun, but it's the color of hope. But it is also the color of intuition. So as soon as you're surrounded by yellow, or you're wearing yellow, for example, you're connecting to your yellow chakra, which is behind your belly button. And that is actually the chakra that connects you, with who you are, what you want in life, what are your objectives, and where do you want to go? And then these are the heels that obviously kill our backs, but I think there's a lot of women that love Christian Louboutin. His red is actually a famous red, and I think we've all read about the red dress. Red attracts the eye. There's nobody who can get away with not being influenced by red. Red means muscle strength is improving. It means you're breathing quicker, your heart rate goes quicker. So nobody escapes the effects of red. Hence, the lady in the red dress attracts the eye. And she also, when she's a waitress, for example, she earns more money than those who are actually wearing other colors. That's an interesting fact as well. Christian Louboutin actually had to fight for his red soles. An idea that came when he was looking at one of the paintings of Andy Warhol called Flowers. And he saw one of his assistants lacking her nails in a red Chinese nail polish. And then he got the bottle out of her hands and he put it on the soles, and that's how the famous red soles were actually born. And then Luis Barragan, one of my definitely one of my favorite architects. Rosa Mexicano, which is a national color of Mexico. And then this lilac. These combinations normally are not combinations you often see together, but actually they are creating something that actually now says Mexico, it now says Luis Barragan, but it actually is a combination that many years ago was not to be seen. Those were colors you were not supposed to put together. And now we're finally in a world where you can actually put any color together however you want. Chefchaouen in the north of Morocco, obviously they actually made this small city blue after the influx of Jewish refugees, because for the Jews, blue represents the sky. So this is heaven. And this is one of these places that is painted blue each and every day. The color blue is about calming, reflection, and it is about water. So it literally is a color that just makes us feel calm. So one of the important things about what I'm saying right now is when you also select a color, it's not just about what you want, what you like, and what are color trends, which I'll get into as well. But you need to understand what are the emotions and what are the feelings behind a color. What can they trigger? And then, of course, the borealis. Green actually is one of these colors that's a bit of a difficult color because it is about nature, it's about sustainability, of course, in today's world. But in the old days, it was about poison. It is also about the monster of Loch Ness, which, again, they're looking for. I don't know if they're going to find it, but I heard they're, again, spending a lot of money to find that monster. Green is a very contradictory color. So also that, and it's obviously a color which is very, very important to this region as well. So you need to know what colors mean, but also you need to know what they mean in the region or in the country that you are producing or designing for. This is actually my cat. Her name is Chiquita. I have a lot of questions about black. A lot of people say, yeah, but what about black? Well, black, you can talk about if it's a color or not. We can talk about whether white is a color or not. Black, for me, yes, it is a color. And what we see trend-wise, that we're actually seeing more colored blacks. So reddish blacks, greenish blacks, blue blacks. Black, however, when you're wearing it, and I'm also guilty, it makes you actually unseen. So if you do not want people to literally see you for who you are and what you want to stand for, get rid of black. But black is always in fashion. And this is why, I think also a lot of fashion designers wear it. To show you just very quickly what I do, I selected this video, and some of you actually maybe have seen it. It's from the, I think, 50s, before actually there was color television. She is the client, he is the salesman, and then there's a technician in the video that you're not going to see, but let's say he's the color matcher. This is the person that needs to go and make your color. And what I do is I do the translation of what happens between these people. And you'll understand after the video what happens and what... You'll tell me if she's happy in the end, okay?
Never mind, you two go and help Gussie in the kitchen. Now, Mr. Fidelford, we'll talk about the painting.
Okay.
I had some samples. Oh, here we are. Now, first, the living room. I want it to be a soft green.
Uh-huh.
Not as blue-green as a robin's egg.
No.
But not as yellow-green as daffodil buds.
Uh-huh.
Now, the only sample I could get is a little too yellow. But don't let whoever does it go to the other extreme and get it too blue.
No.
It should just be a sort of grayish yellow green.
Uh-huh.
Now, the dining room, I'd like yellow. Not just yellow, a very gay yellow. Something bright and sunshiny.
Uh-huh.
I tell you, Mr. Padelford, if you'll send one of your workmen to the grocer for a pound of their best butter and match that exactly, you can't go wrong.
Uh-huh.
Now, this is the paper we're going to use in the hall. It's flowered, but I don't want the ceiling to match any of the colors of the flower.
No.
There's some little dots in the background, and it's these dots I want you to match. Not the little greenish dot near the hollyhock leaf,
No.
but the little bluish dot between the rosebud and the delphinium blossom. Is that clear?
Uh-huh.
Now, the kitchen's to be white. Not a cold, antiseptic hospital white.
No.
A little warmer, but still not to suggest any other color but white.
Uh-huh.
Now, for the powder room, in here, I want you to match this thread, and don't lose it. It's the only spool I have, and I had an awful time finding it. As you can see, it's practically an apple red, somewhere between a healthy wine sap and an unripened Jonathan.
Uh-huh.
Oh, excuse me.
You got that, Charlie?
Red, green, blue, yellow, white.
Check.
She gonna be happy when she comes back home? I doubt that. So she is imagining her life in that new home with her husband, with her children, dinner with friends and family. That's here, that's what I said. That's not up here, it's in our hearts, it's love, it's our intuition, it's our passion. And the translation, and this is funny, this is from the 50s. This still happens today. Every time there's a designer who has a vision and it has to go to a coatings company, a master batch company, anybody who's gonna make the color so that your product may shine, there's miscommunication constantly because you speak an emotional language of color. Technicians don't. Technicians, they just like blue, red, white, yellow. So that's what I try to do. I try to be a vehicle between this. That's what I do personally, but that's also what technically most people in Color Marketing Group do, so CMG, and that's also where Mohammed is also a member, and that's where also we met again. We met a few years back in London, but now we met again at Color Marketing Group as well. Color Marketing Group is the premier association for color experts and color professionals. So anybody in the world who works in color can become a member. And I can tell you the reason why I'm on this stage talking to you about color is because I went to that very first meeting of Color Marketing Group in Berlin in 2007. And that's where I met my people. It's been existing since 1962. It is a not-for-profit. Yes, headquarters are in Washington, D.C., but as I said, anyone in the world can become a member. And we have a global membership base. So it's a member organization, a member for a member. So it's the members that create the content, the forecast, the trends, for example. We only have one staff member, and the rest of it is just all of us sharing our love, our passion for color. And I think this is one of the only organizations within color that does that on a global base that also is not for profit. I've been a member since 2007. I've been a president for 2 years as first non-American. And these are my people, these are my colleagues. When I have one question about, for example, color in Egypt, I can just call up one of my people within the organization, and within a day, I have more information. This is very valuable to have people like that. There's a lot of companies, as you can see here, that are actually part of the organization. So yes, some of them are competitors. There's competitors sitting at the same table, because in the end, we want the same thing. We want to share about color. And we do forecasting, color forecasting. So it starts with future thinking, as you can start here. Future thinking is thinking not about next year, next 2 years. It's the next 5 to 10 years. This is not color. This is mega trends, macro trends. Things like digitalization, urbanization, climate change, what is happening. We talk about that, and we create these trend stories that then go into the chroma zones. So those stories are then translated into color directions, per region. We have regional steering events. So unfortunately, I have to say we do not have a Middle Eastern region. Middle Eastern region normally comes to the European meetings. Also, of course, they can go to Asia Pacific, or they can go to Latin America or the North American events. They should, I know, but we have somebody who's offering himself. It's a volunteer organization. I volunteer, and I hear Mohammed is volunteering right now. Okay. And then we present the World Color Forecast, which actually we presented 3 weeks ago. We presented the colors for 2025 online, so also an easy way to attend. Color context is then a way to actually apply color. So then we look at how we can apply those colors from 2025 in different industries, so in transportation, in food, in interior design, in retail. Color Marketing Group is for all of you, I can tell you. If you are in color, and we're also opening up a student membership as of next year, so that's also something exciting, I think, for you guys to look out for. What I want to show to you quickly is the 2024 European video. We just did 2025, which unfortunately I'm not allowed to show for non-members. But just to give you a vibe of what's happening. So these are the colors for Color Marketing Group globally. So you have the different regions, as you can see here. And I'm just going to very quickly show you the European video so you get an idea of what color trends look like, what are their stories, and how you represent those colors within those stories. You see with color forecasting, this was the color forecast for Color Marketing Group. Color forecasting use keywords to define a color, but also in the explanation, you need to tell people, you need to bring them along that story of why that color was selected and why it was selected for that region. Color forecasting is something that has started already many, many years ago. I believe color forecasting is changing, but it is ever more of interest. There's a lot of people out there that say, I don't do color trends. And I love that conversation because everybody is influenced by trends. If you're connected, you're influenced by trends. If you're living on this earth, you're generally influenced by what happens in politics, climate change, the economy, and that actually influences what you buy and then what color you buy. So that's interesting, and how color forecasting is moving. I think it is changing in per se from the previous forecasting that we did, but it's something that still is ever more important for a lot of services out there. I started my color forecasting in Avient. So this is the previous company that I used to work with. This is Color Forward. This was already 16 years of color forecasting. So that's our wall with all of those colors that you can see how colors move throughout the years within color forecasting and trends. A color doesn't just appear one year and then disappear the next year. They have a movement. Just like we move through life, colors move with us through life. As Mohammed said, I was part of the team of Color Forward. I was a creative director. So every year we produced Color Forward, which was then predicting the colors for the master batch industry. So anybody who would produce anything in plastic, they would come to my presentation. So that means anybody who worked for Procter & Gamble, Unilever, L'Oreal, all your shampoo bottles, to anybody who here drives a car, Ford, Porsche, no matter JFK, everybody uses color, and obviously plastic, fortunately or unfortunately, is in many products. So that is what I did for 10 years of color forecasting for the manufacturing industry within the, technically Europe, but let's say that this is a global tool. This is what the tool looks like. So obviously we had small cars, we had carpets, we had fibers, and then we had obviously leather chips as well. Although leather was not a market we were directly working with, if you design a car, very often they start with the leather, so the color of the leather, and then they go to plastic. So it was a good way to actually always have the leather pieces there before they actually selected the color for the plastic for the inside of the car. Color trends in general is something that I still do because of my history within color trends. I'm asked very often to do color trends. One of my clients is Comex Pinturas in Mexico, and they invite me for their color week. So they have like 4 days, and they invite the architects out of the whole country, and we talk about trends. We talk about what's happening in Mexico, what's happening in the Mexican consumer life, and how can we translate that into the colors that people want to put in their homes in the next couple of years. So this is the color palette that I did for them for 2022 with the 4 trend stories, and then obviously the storytelling. As I said, there's not only color, there's a story behind, there's a reasoning behind you select the colors. This is a company so it's a paint company, but they only work in Mexico. So it's 4 days, as I said, and we're flown in this beautiful location, and the only thing we talk about, how are people feeling? How are Mexicans feeling? What are they doing in life? What are they eating? What are the new foods that they're cooking with, for example? And that all gets translated into the colors of the future. I also did the colors for Heim Textile Trends for 2024, 2025. For those of you who are in textile design, Heim Textile is one of the biggest fairs out in Frankfurt in Germany, and I was part of the color selection for that. All of the colors that you're seeing here are actually colors that are influenced by natural pigments. So just like you have your beautiful natural pigments here in Egypt, you can actually dye naturally. The only thing, obviously, when you dye naturally with natural pigments, the pigment obviously loses color quicker. So that's something that you have to understand. It's more sustainable, but you have to understand that, for example, my dress in sunshine and washing it will slowly lose color. So that's a part of color in the future. If we want to go with sustainable color, that we need to accept. So that's what we did for Heim Textile. These are the colors actually for those. But as you can see, Mother Nature actually has quite bright natural color pigments. We all think that's not possible. It actually is possible. So these are the colors that we designed for new sensitivity for Heim Textile, for the textiles, for the upcoming 2 years actually.
Feel the touch of nature. Talk to the people around you. Listen. everything is changing, moving all at once, connected, intertwined like a spider's net, each affecting and enforcing the other. And so, the textile industry takes on a new starting point to ensure a positive transformation for all. Bioengineered solutions, plant-based textiles, and cutting-edge technology pave the way for sustainable practices, heightened environmental awareness, and considered product cycles, propelling the industry towards a promising future with an approach of new sensitivity.
I think like many parts in the world, we're all looking for sustainable dyes, sustainable dyeing, sustainable textiles. This is a preview, so hasn't happened yet. So we did the colors, we did the trends, but it will be shown in the first week of January in Frankfurt, Heimtextil. So for those of you who have the possibility to come to the Trend Forum, please do come. There's an amazing color talks as well. I will be also one of the other people that is going to be doing a color talk. And that is also another part, obviously, of what I'm doing here with you. That's what I do in many parts in the world. This actually was in June in Marrakesh, where I did a presentation on the sense of belonging. So the presentation was all about connecting color to the region's color. So the colors that you see here on the table are all pigments that I went and bought in the souk. And then I actually showed people how they worked, and it's very funny. They didn't know that. They didn't know that they had a color that was called blue magic, that is actually brown, and it comes from the Sahara. And when you put oil or water, it becomes the Yves Klein blue, the one that is also used for the gardens of obviously the famous gardens next to the Yves Saint Laurent museum in Marrakesh. So it's amazing what our earth has to offer in color. Maybe it's time to start using it, right? So that's, for example, a talk that I did in Marrakesh. I also do a lot of branding. Now, this is completely out of different, this is Vide. This is the first sustainable snowmobile in Sweden. And I did their branding colors. So there's also a video about that. I'm not going to bother with you. You're probably going to get cold in this air conditioning looking at snow. But it's very funny that color is everywhere. And that's what I'm trying to show you. It's in textile. It is with clients like Brown. In Germany, I work a lot with that brand. It is in Mexico in paint. But it's also in snowmobiles in the north of Sweden. Color is everywhere, and it matters. Color truly, truly matters. It matters in what we eat, how we dress, and how we feel well in our spaces. The color consultancy, of course, is also a big, very big part. I don't have a lot I can share here because, unfortunately, I very often have to sign NDAs. I did not have to sign an NDA with Riviera, again, a textile company that I did a full cruise, hospitality, and outdoor card with. So they asked me to design new colors for that particular market. So imagine your life on cruises or in hotels and hospitality. This is just an example slide of the reds that I developed. So these are the reds. This is not necessarily only trend work, but this is work for the outdoor industry, as you can see here with beautiful examples from Paola Lenti as well. It's a way of how you present color. It's a way of how you bring your customer along the red story so that they actually will apply red. And they use this presentation to then go to their clients to then sell, obviously, their yarns, but also to sell color in the end. Press is important. I do a lot of interviews. I know Mohammed does a lot of interviews as well. Writing about color, getting a positive impact about color, sharing about color, because there's a lot of people that are afraid of color. There are a lot of people that don't know how to apply color. And that is what we're all here for. So writing for magazines, whether it's, this is from AD, so Architects Digest in Latin America. I wrote color about color in Latin America. This is something that we all enjoy doing, but this is also very much part of bringing the knowledge about color out there. And I think that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. That was very inspiring. Thank you to the audience. Is everyone okay? Enjoying this? My students? Yes, I see you all. I'm going to start by a very, very common question that you ask all your guests. Judith starts every single podcast with the exact question. What is color? So I'm sorry, but it was the obvious thing to start this conversation with. I chose a painting by Etel Adnan because she's originally Lebanese, French, and she says that color makes visible what the person is trying to say, but silent. What is color for Judith Van Vliet?
Well, color is definitely my way of living because it's everywhere. For me, it is life. And this is a reply that a lot of people gave. But for me, definitely, it is life because, as I said, I'm the luckiest person in the world because I get to work with color on a daily basis. And I get to learn about color, study about color, and share about color every day. But I personally would not imagine my life without color. I think that would be the end of me.
I think this would be the end of a lot of things. Thank you. That was very, very personal. Within the design community, we often refer to the power of color. I always tell my students, I always lecture, I say, color has a hidden power. As a color expert, how do you explain our behavior towards color? And does color really influence our decision making?
Well, there's research, and they say that it's between 50 and 85% of our decisions are actually made through color. So our brain, the first thing our brain connects to is smell. So that's the first thing when we are somewhere. But obviously when we're digitally shopping, there's no smell, not yet. I think they're trying to figure out that one too. The second information that arrives to our brain is color, but color is connected to shape. So that's why selecting the right color for a given shape is important because not all colors can go on any material or all shapes. That's also something you have to be very careful with. So in my humble personal opinion, it is definitely 85% of our choices, but we don't know. So we don't know, but according to how we're feeling that day, we will pick a certain color. Or maybe because I always use the Nivea brand. You know, Nivea, the Bayersdorf brand, one of my previous customers. The blue, it's a product that a lot of people today still buy because grandma would use it on you when you were having a dry skin or a scab skin or when you were at the beach, for example. So it's nostalgia. But it's about the blue. And as soon as you're in a supermarket and you see that blue, you know it's Nivea. And that is power. And that is the power that Nivea has with their blue. That's the red that Coca-Cola has with theirs, or Ferrari, for example.
Of course.
There are brands that people literally recognize
Because of
only
color.
by the color. They can't do the logo. If you ask people to redesign a logo or to try to design the logo, they can't. But they get very close to the color.
I was having a talk at Sync Summit last year, and it was on the stage of Red Bull. So I literally had the blue and the silver without anything, and I asked everyone, what is this? It's a Red Bull. It didn't have any logo, anything, just blue and silver. And color has an amazing power over us, over our decisions, over how we move and feel. And this is what I tell everyone, that if your water is brown, you'll not drink it, because you know it's a decision made and based entirely out of color.
Color is also instinct, because color in the previous, and we still have that in it's survival instinct. So if something has a certain color, you know whether you're in danger or not. So that is with food, but it's also with obviously nature, spaces, it's with movement and shape. So actually it's something, that's why it's here, right? It's innate, it's our instinct, it's our survival instinct as well. So that's also how color has even a bigger power than we are actually acknowledging.
I agree. You should all go back home and look for the color tonight. I'm so tense tonight that I had to write my questions down. I usually have them by heart. The word sensorial has been often used on several fronts and keeps on popping every time we discuss new products. We have seen a shift within establishments. So corporations recruit sound designers, light designers, and even olfactory designers. I mean, all the hotels in the world, good hotels in the world, they have a specific smell that you smell every time you get in there. It's just like Nivea, because you feel comfortable. You just feel that I've arrived. These sensorial attributes, they're connected to us, sound and light. Do you believe that color has the same weight in triggering our memory and generating customer loyalty?
Yes and no. First, again, it's always olfat. So smell will always be the first, and it's the strongest. It's often used with Alzheimer's and dementia. For example, rosemary actually is very good to remember things of the past. Yes, color has the power to actually traumatize you. So if there's moments in your life that you were not, that something happened to you and there was a certain color present, it's very likely that you cannot stand that color. So you can ask yourselves all right now, what is the color you don't like, but really don't like? It's actually, don't tell us, by the way, because it gives a lot of information about your personal life and your personal color trauma. But actually, to know what is your favorite color or not your favorite color,
questions
here.
Suha over there has a trauma of a specific color that I learned off, and then we had you have to stay away from it all the time. You too? I believe everyone has a traumatic. I've used Tiffany as after. I have few questions left. So my fourth question is, me personally, I'm an Apple guy, like a hardcore Apple guy. And for me, I believe that Apple is the epitome of slickness in design. Apple reintroduced purity in design. I believe that Dieter Rams was the predecessor of Steve Jobs for a reason or another. In one of your podcasts with Erica Kelter, you discussed users' experience, the touch, the feel, how colorblind interacts with specific products, places you're supposed to touch and others you're supposed to slide your hands on. How crucial is the role of color in UI, UX? Because these are things that are really given to us. We put our earpods, we put our headsets, we have our machinery, but really everything has been studied for us to touch, not to touch, or to look at. So, but it's a sensorial thing, it's a tactile thing. What about color in all these, especially that Apple is pure white?
Well, Apple was not always white.
Yes, that's true.
They had the Bondi Blue Beach. That was obviously when, so Apple was obviously beige, and then they almost closed down.
Yes.
And what happened to Apple? Why did they survive? They introduced color. That's how Apple survived. This is the same with Nokia. Okay, Nokia literally is not here anymore. But that was not because they didn't have color. At the moment that Nokia was not doing well, they introduced color and they actually survived in the market and they got a bigger market share. I think with the whole touch, sense, and feel, I think within COVID, this has accelerated. Okay. I think we humans, we need to be together, first of all, but we need to touch, we need to feel. And I think within COVID, not having been able to actually touch many things, or at least then we'd had to disinfect, this is something that we're now seeing back. So there's a lot more haptics, and I think this is very human to actually be in touch with things, and that we use elements such as Apple, whether it's the iPhone, whether it's the watch, they're an extension of ourselves. But when the color is not the right one, how can it be part of our personality? So the color is the part of not only user-friendliness, so color indicates you what is indeed, as I said, safe. Green button, you know something is on. Red button, something is off. It's functional. Color is functional as well in main markets. But it is also something in the product with Apple, it's an extension of who you are as a person, and it's an extension of how you want to feel as well. With Apple, so careful, because with certain haptic textures, color change. So applying that same color on different types of textures and materials, there's changes in color. So this is also something when you do color application, you have to be aware what happens to color on different materials, because that's where it gets tricky, really.
I agree, and I believe that Apple survived after reintroducing the translucent, colorful stuff. You've been reading and researching a lot into neuroaesthetics, and then it's the science of color, if color heals or not. Do you believe that color heals?
That color?
Heals?
Yes, I believe color heals.
Really?
Yes.
How?
He's skeptic, right? You can see that he is like, explain.
I mean, I'm skeptic, but I'm not. I believe in energy, that there's a positive energy, negative energy, etc. When I'm in I told you I was at the Tate for Olafur Eliasson, Omar's favorite designer and mine, and I saw the sun, and the yellow color did something to me. But to the extent of healing?
To the extent of healing, especially with those here that I think there's a few people that have color traumas, you can actually heal that trauma. It's not necessarily the color that did something to you, of course. It's about a color being present in a moment that you had a trauma happening. And a trauma does not need to be an accident or a divorce or many nasty things in life. It can be small things. I had a color trauma because I got sick of a yellow curry once, and now I'm a yellow person apparently. So I got healed about that. No, I'm just kidding. I think I don't do color therapy. I have been in color therapy. And I do think that color has a power to, I do think it has a power to heal, yes. But already just very small examples that have literally been proven. Red light sauna. Red light sauna on your back, so red light literally on your back is warming up, it's heating up, and it heals a lot of issues within our gastro system. This is a proven scientific one. The circadian rhythm. Yes. So blue light in the morning to wake you up and freshen you up and literally give you a kick But blue light in the evening screens everyone is not healthy. It actually creates insomnia. So color can do a lot for you, but it can also not be that great to you. Yeah.
That I believe in. So how you can be cured. Another word du jour is sustainability. We keep on saying sustainability. Every designer we speak to uses the word sustainability. Yet each fashion house has around, and we have Kieram in the house, has around 6 collections every year. We tend to consume more because we want to stay up to date in trend, in fashion. Does color enable consumerism?
Oh my God, Andy Warhol is back. Okay. I think the future of sustainability and of color is that when you buy something that you love, so you buy it in the color that you love, or the color that does something for you, you do not throw it away easily. And that's the same, but that's not just color. It's about design, it is about the material, it is about the user-friendliness of a product. Again, coming back to everything that Dieter Rams has designed. Those are products to last. So making products to last is also about making them in the color for your consumer, because they love that color and they will not get tired of it, rid of it.
That's true. And this is why everything is being custom made as well. I mean, customization is the new big thing. We believe, you and me, that color communicates without the use of words. And I believe lots of people believe that too. Given that I teach color, how can graphic designers, because we are in a design department, how can graphic designers use color to better deliver a story? And I've used Manuvo by Pentagram. I was talking to my students about it today. It's an app to teach migrants, to educate migrants in the US. And actually, they've used colors that are not split complementary, not complementary. It's a very weird and beautiful use of color. So how can graphic designers, designers in general, but specifically graphic designers who's designing, use color to enhance, to bring to life, to make something stand out in their design?
Well, I think you said it spot on, the storytelling. So first of all, you need to have your story, but you cannot create a story if you don't know who you're talking to. So if you know who your audience is, who your market is, the industry, even age, for example, how old are the people that you're talking to, this will already give you an idea what their color likes are. I personally, so I'm an old millennial, but I personally hate it when they say, that's a millennial color. And I think Generation Z hates that too. They were like, what do you mean Generation Z color? I have my own style, I have my own color. I'm not part of this, and that's about the personalization. But in the end, there are commonalities within segments. There's commonalities within the Generation Z, what they like and what they don't like. There's commonalities with people that come here on a boat or on an airplane or walking, and how they feel, colors that they communicate with, culture, maybe colors that culturally remind them of home, for example. And in this case, I think colors that are also, in case you are colorblind, these are colors that normally not a lot of people are colorblind for, yes, that they can see them. And then, so I think the answer to here is know your audience, know who you're designing for. And it's not about designing what you like. It's not about designing, it's nice if you like your design, of course, but it's not about only using the colors that you like as a person, or not using the colors that you don't like, for example. Sometimes a color that is not among your favorite color is the right color for the product because it fits with the shape, it fits with the line, it fits with the font that you've used, or simply it fits the scope. So research is very important, and to stand out in the end is literally to be yourself, and never, ever copy-paste. Never, ever.
Never ever copy paste. Thank you very much. Yesterday we had, I have two more questions for Judith and then the floor is yours. Yesterday Dima asked you something very specific, my dream car. She asked you how, she's very intrigued, Dima's here somewhere, I cannot see her. Hello. Dima teaches graphic design at GUC. She asked you how do you choose a color on a specific product. She was intrigued by that and she specifically asked about cars. So I'm asking you as a color consultant, people come to you and tell you, we have a new Rolls-Royce that we're launching in 5 years, 6 years, 1 year. We need you to help us select the color for it. What's the process for selecting a product, a color for a product and making sure it lasts and it's relevant?
That's probably a year of work. So I'll try to explain a year of work in just a few seconds. Well, first of all, you need to look at the brand, what the brand represents. One of the, I think Brown, I think most of you know Brown, kitchen appliances, Brown, DeLonghi, Kenwood, of course. I work mainly with Brown, so I can talk about Kawasaki, but everybody knows Kawasaki is green, which is obviously my previous company. I'm not going to talk about Kawasaki in the automotive industry, but I think with Brown, for example, what I try to do with Brown, which is very important, is to look at who they are. Dieter Rams was obviously the main designer years ago for the brand, and that is to be respected. He brought a huge heritage to that brand of simplicity, simplicity mainly, user-friendliness, and that it had to be long-lasting. So I'm not going to put Barbie pink on the brown kitchen appliance, even though that is the Pantone color of the year, or it's the color because the Barbie movie came out. There's multiple things you have to look at in the product. So again, it is the brand. Who are they? What do they stand for? What is their past? Because I think heritage needs to be respected. You look at color trends, yes, but color trends are not for everybody. And that is something we need to understand. It's amazing to have the color of the year. It's amazing to do color trends. But color trends are also for quick-moving products. A car is not a quick-moving product. Normally, a car in the Netherlands, where I was born, people have a car averagely for more than 13 years or 15 years. So you better like the color. So that is one thing. So it's brand, heritage. It is a little bit of color trends and what's happening in the world. It is demographic, so it's market. Who are the people that buy the car, the product in general? And then it's material and finish.
Of course. Because
on a transparent material, a color will obviously have a lot of light come through. It will look different than on opaque. If you're then going to do gloss, matte, this all influences. So that is all information, the bare minimum of information that you need before you do actually a color selection.
And then it's good to know that it takes 5 years for the process of choosing a car color until it goes actually on the car. So this is actually Rolls-Royce launched the, I don't know, I said Rolls-Royce, Rolls-Royce launched this color last year, 2023, but actually it was selected in 2018. So voila. My last question for you is as well from yesterday, Ghalia. She asked, or maybe, I don't know if she asked it, but I'm asking you, does color have a gender? Are there masculine colors, feminine colors? Is pink for girls and blue for boys?
This is marketing, and that's it. It's pure marketing. My brother loved pink, and he loved to play with my Barbies. And the day that I told him not to, he threw them in the river near my house. So that's my trauma. I have a pink color trauma. But no, in my opinion, no, there is no gender. I think there is still a lot of marketing out there, and I would fully accept and agree with that. If there's people that want their girls to be dressed in pink, why not? And their boys in blue. But if at some point that they want to change that up the game, why not? And this is Western, because in China it's red. So a newborn baby is dressed in red. So it's actually a Western idea, and it's very marketing.
And color is very, very contextual, and it follows as well the culture you are in. I think white in Japan is for the funerals as well, and not only for weddings. These were all my questions for Judith. I now thank you very, very much. I've enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to know if anyone has any questions. And you have a question, Taib. I'm gonna do. Thank you.
Thank you for the talk. It's very inspiring. I'm Muhammad Radwan. I'm an architect. And you touched upon timelessness in color, especially when you talked about Dieter Rams. Dieter Rams, most of his designs were very neutral. They were in white or in black. And then when architects, especially minimalists, deal with buildings because they want it to be timeless and minimal, they go for the black, white, and gray. So I don't know if what is your opinion on that, and how can you achieve something that is timeless with something that has to do with trends?
I think something can be timeless if you adapt it to its environment. So if you are in a forest, you can more easily adapt your design to obviously something that is moving into the colors of nature, for example, the greens, for example. In my opinion, the issue with the gray world that we are living in is due to, I think, not necessarily timelessness. It is about a lot of people being afraid to pick color and then pick the wrong color and to get tired of that color. But this is again about the conversation that you can have with your client, once you get to know your client, you know a little bit more about them personally, you'll automatically get to know what colors they really like and what colors they don't like. A dear friend of ours, Mark Woodman, he always asks his clients, go to your closet, pick out the dress or the jacket that people always compliment in you. And that very likely is the color that is your color, the color that best suits you. And that automatically, very likely, is also the color that you are actually most comfortable with. So I agree with the timelessness, but I think between black, white, and gray, there's many different shades, even in between, that you can use. And as I said, there's a lot of color to neutrals, whether very light or very dark, that are now being introduced. And we are seeing that consumers are actually enjoying those very well. So you don't have to live in Mexico City to use color like Luis Barragan. It's something that actually you can do in a lot of cities and a lot of cultures. So look into your environment and look into the wishes of your clients. Because true, gray is timeless, but gray literally is neutral. And that means that it does not evoke any emotions and any feelings. So it may create the sick building feeling, which literally is, which also white can create, by the way. So it depends how you want people to feel within your building, I guess.
Go to their wardrobe next time. Do we have any other questions? Yes.
Hi, hello. My name is Mariam Anas. First of all, thank you so much for this lovely talk. Very informative. So I work as a business developer in marketing industry. And one of the things that I notice about the client is that they don't like the design, but I feel like they don't like the color. And when you do ask the clients what you don't like, they just don't know. It's not comfortable, it's not good. And it's hard to determine, because most of my clients are international, so it's hard to determine whether this client, what's the color he's looking for. And so my question is, how do we connect that? That's the first question I have. The second question I have, you said that colors affect people, like yellow makes you hungry, blue makes you a little bit sad, and also inspiring or relaxing. Does that affect like all people? Do we all perceive colors in this way? So, and how can I incorporate this into like marketing?
Well, there's a global perception of color, which is indeed, any book you would buy on color psychology, for example, it would tell you a little bit about that color, and then obviously it goes deeper within certain cultures, within certain regions. So it's interesting to dive into that region, but in your case, it's international. My designs normally are also for international clients, so I have to keep it more broad. I cannot go very deep into what the color red means, for example, in this region, because the product is indeed international. It's important to know the background of that color, and sometimes it helps to bring your client along to that journey, why you picked that color for the product, and why you think, using data, using your research, I'm sure you use mood boards, etc., to convince them of that color. And I always have a backup plan. I always have another color or a shift of that very same color, because it's never that they don't like yellow or they don't like any yellow or any red. It's probably that particular shade. So very often you can go back to your client by changing the shades. For example, adding more white or adding more black. So actually you're not even changing the color or the chroma of the color. You're just making it lighter or darker, for example. And sometimes it's just literally very much asking that question or exactly having the backup. So you have your red design, and then you show your blue design, and then just see what happens. Literally, be silent and see what happens. If then, yes, they do like it. Or go back to them after a few days with your new design, but simply you just maybe change one line and you change the color, and then for you that gives the information whether it is indeed the color or if it's something else. Because I know what you're going through. A lot of clients, sometimes they can't say it, but it's just a no. But very often that probably it is the color. Yeah. And I've been in many rooms.
She should invite them to the journey, to the story.
Yes.
Make them part of the story.
Make them part of the story, but as I said, I have almost never did a client not choose a certain color if I did not bring them from A to Z. Z was the color. All of my choices and my research, the story. So bringing them along that story, that journey, for them is very difficult then to say, yeah, but I don't like it. I mean, it's part of the communication. It's part of how you bring that to them, and going deep enough with that story. So also the why of that particular and why on that shape, for example. But when you design international, it's good to keep it at let's say like a level of color psychology that we know reflects on a lot of people. But this is the difficult part of color, and this is what everybody needs to understand. Color is not and never objective. It has different reactions with everybody here. Because if I say red, everybody in this room, 100% sure, is thinking about a different red. 100% sure. There's no way that we will thinking about the same red. So this makes color so complex, but powerful as well, because they ignore your design probably because of color. So that's how strong it is. So that's why, again, the right color on that design for that client, it's difficult, but once it goes, it will fly off. So good luck.
Any other question? Yes, we have.
Hello, good evening. I'm very happy to be here to hear your talk. It was very interesting, by the way. I want to ask you a question. I want to know who decides the color trends of every year and how you choose them. Okay. Thank you.
Color trends normally are a collaborative work. So that means you have multiple people at the table. They've all done their research, and very often they're not only designers. These can be people who are marketeers. They can be people who are artists. It's people that obviously always have their eyes and their ears open, because that's what you need to do when you do forecasting. Trend forecasting or color forecasting, it's people that travel, it's people that see the world, they talk to people, and they research. So anybody here can be a color trend forecaster. But normally it's a collaborative group of people. And I think one of the things that a lot of people think about forecasting is that it's this magic group, secret masonry group that is picking up the colors, and then everybody, just has to adapt. Color forecasting actually is the result of looking at all of you people here in the room, observing you, and translating those behaviors and those values and needs into color. Because we all have needs, we all have values, which are continuously changing. We all have needs, which are also continuously changing. And that's why there's always the need for a new product. And that's why there's always a need for a new color. But it's not a secretive group that does this. You can all be part of that if you do your research. And we don't push color trends onto the market. It is literally a translation of what is happening in the world into stories and then into color. So Color Marketing Group does this as the only not-for-profit. And then there's many companies that do color forecasting, of course.
Any other question before we...
My question is related to something very interesting you have said, related to the connection between the color and the form and the materials or textures. So my question is, how can I figure out this connection or relationship between the colors and shapes and materials, and what is the guide that I can follow to know more about it? Thank you.
I think, so generally this is the world of CMF, color, material, and finish, which always used to belong to the automotive industry, electronics industry, HP, Apple, they all have CMF designers. Actually, CMF is now something that you can study. You can also study it at Color Marketing Group, because we now also do education. So in October, we have the online Connect, and here we have experts in MF, and they actually teach online how you can do that. So first of all, I would say start trying. So start literally, I mean, it's also fun. Like you have a shape on a given material, and it's only with your eyes that you can see how color changes when you apply color on this material, on that material, and with a different texture. There's obviously also companies you can work with, depending on what material you're working with. They can help you with this, so you give them the color and the material that you want to work with, and they can help you with that. But it's something that it's every day more important. So the only thing is there's no rules. There's no rules like on a round shape, you can only do red color. It's not like what Kandinsky did in his painting, right? Because that was his intuitive way of putting only certain colors on certain shapes. But texture and material completely may change a color. And that is something in the design process you need to be aware of. So if you want to learn about it, I would suggest, yes, there are workshops on this. There are studies on that, which you can obviously attend to. And sometimes it is also you just literally, if you have a studio, just try it. And you will see the differences with the different textures and different embosses, transparency levels. Color is changing due to obviously light absorption. And that is an important thing to understand when you design.
Thank you all. I hope you were not long. Thank you, Judith.
Thank you.
There are lots of people I would love to thank. GLC for sponsoring this, AUC for being part of this, Jochen, Mai, Nagla, V for filming. Thank you all for coming. This is episode 1. Episode 2 would be on the 17th of October, hopefully. Thank you very, very, very much for gracing us tonight and for accepting our invitation. And have a lovely evening, everyone. Judith is here if anyone wants to ask her any questions. شكرا جزيلا. تصبحوا على خير.
Thank you.